We're very, very fortunate today to be joined by Gunny Sodhi, who is not only an Ayurvedic expert, but really born and bred in this industry. And I'm gonna give you a little introduction to Gunny, what he does, and we're gonna talk a lot about Ayurveda. We have some, he's got an expertise in this realm that we'll all benefit from. So Gunny, thank you for being here today with us.
No, thank you for having me. Appreciate it. Excited about this.
Oh, my pleasure. Again, everybody, the webinar series will be listed on the beYogi site. So it's not quite built yet, but within about a week or so, you should be able to see that on the site. We do have one coming up already scheduled in 2 weeks with Digital Yoga Academy. And that's going to be designed to help our folks. It's to be around launching an online course. So that'll be a really good one. We've got a lot of requests for that type of webinar. But again, thank you to Gunny for being here today. I do want to mention, so Gunny, just to give you kind of a little history or a little bio on Gunny. So Gunny Sodhi's family, his family roots in Ayurvedic medicine really stretch across generations. He didn't really personally understand the power of Ayurveda until tragedy struck. And Gunny, I don't want to put any words into your mouth here, but I'm going to go through this bio and I'll kind of let you describe some of the details if you wanted to.
No worries. You're doing a good job. Yeah.
And as I understand, the sudden death of your 16-year-old brother completely changed the course of Gunny's life and set him up on an unexpected path of self-discovery. Following his brother's passing, Gunny was consumed by debilitating panic attacks and bouts of deep depression. Diagnosed with PTSD and desperate for relief, he found no comfort in traditional Western therapy. Imagine that. At that time, he was lost. So it was there at his wit's end that Gunny would rediscover his roots. On the advice of his family, he began supplementing his diet with ashwagandha and other time-tested Ayurvedic remedies. Meditation and yoga became daily practices for Gunny, and within 6 weeks, only 6 weeks, his anxiety had faded and his depression had lifted. And again, that is what, those are the types of stories that I love as the start of a journey. I mean, obviously, you never want to hear of a story about tragedy, but those, the overcoming of tragedies and what people face coming out of that, to me, are always so inspiring. And so Gunny had experienced the healing potential of Mother Nature firsthand, and in doing so, found a new purpose. And out of a desire to help change people's lives the way his life had been changed, YouVeda, which is Gunny's company and Gunny's brand, was born. So its mission is simple: produce the best Ayurvedic products on the planet. By tapping into the intelligence of Mother Nature, Gunny has found a way to honor the memory of his brother while helping others on their own journeys towards healing and happiness. So again, thank you for Gunny. Thank you to Gunny for being here. And today we're going to talk about an introduction to Ayurveda, a little bit about what it is, the goal, some science-based information. But for now, I'd like to hand it over to Gunny. Gunny, thanks again for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much, Joe. I really do appreciate that. And I think you said it wonderfully. I mean, that was a very trying time, not only for me, but for my whole family. But, they say you can't really connect the dots looking forward. You do it looking backwards. What's interesting was my dad is a doctor. He's a naturopathic and Ayurvedic doctor. I never wanted to be a doctor. Yet me and him were talking about it the few months back. He's like, it's interesting. You're not a doctor, but you're still doing stuff that helps people in a similar manner and fashion that I do. So it's like, he's like, inevitably you kind of ended up being or doing your end result was kind of similar to what I'm doing. And I was like, that's so interesting looking back. And I don't think I would be doing what I am. Don't have an understanding of the mind, body, and spirit that I do now if it wasn't for that tragedy. I mean, I miss my brother every day. There's no doubt about that. But at the end of the day, I'm not sure if I would be who I am if that had not happened. I hadn't discovered what my body could do and what my body could also do to get me out of it. So with that aside, what I'd like to kind of cover, and what probably everybody is eager to hear, is what is Ayurveda? A lot of people come and to me and even have asked me, and usually they come and they'll come from okay, hey, I heard about ashwagandha, I heard about curcumin, I heard about turmeric, I heard about these things. Is it good for me? Should I take it? Well, my answer is all of the above. Yeah, if it's good for you, but do you really understand why and how these things function and behave the way they do? And that's what I'd like to get into. I'd like to give an introduction to Ayurveda. What is it? What does it mean? kind of go into the different constitutions, the doshas, at a very basic level. I don't want to confuse people, because even for me, when I get deeper into the dosha, sometimes that stuff gets confusing for me too, because you can go so deep, and that's not what's needed here. I think what's needed here is a simplified version, and then we'll talk about some of the herbs, and of course we'll open it up to Q&A. So, if you don't mind, Joe, I mean, I'd like to kind of get into, what is an introduction to Ayurveda, and just go from there, if that's fine.
Yeah, that's perfect. And just to let everybody know, feel free to throw any questions into the chat as we move along. We will try to answer some questions as we go along. We'll also try to answer some questions at the end for a little Q&A session. If we don't get to your question, we will send a communication after this is all over to everybody, answering as many of the questions as we possibly can. One other point too, everybody who is joined was entered into a drawing to win one of Gunny's packages, a YouVeda, an Ayurvedic package, and the winner of that will also be announced afterwards. But yes, Gunny, please dive right in. I think I'm very interested in this topic, and as much as I've read and learned and love Ayurveda, I feel like there's so much I don't know. So this is something I've been really interested in learning as well.
Absolutely. So first and foremost, what is Ayurveda, and where is it from? Many consider Ayurveda to be the oldest science, oldest healing modality. There is texts that actually show it dating as far back as 5,000 years old, and it was originated in India. Others will debate that it's older, but so far the text that I've been able to research, my father's been able to give me, it's for sure proven that it's at least 5,000 years old. If you think about that, that's pretty incredible that 5,000 years ago, these texts were written. These texts were formulated. This way of life was originated, and that's what actually Ayurveda means. If you take the word and you splice it up, AYU equals life, VEDA equals science, knowledge, the life science or life knowledge. That's what Ayurveda is. And that's a beautiful thing about that, because the meaning, the word in itself is about life science. Now, and life knowledge. A lot of people come to me, and I've also been thinking about this. It's so interesting. Ayurveda stresses most of its teachings in prevention, okay? Why prevention? Well, according to Ayurveda, let's prevent you from ever having a disease, ever suffering in the first place. But if you do get a disease, if you are suffering, of course there's things we can do, but the emphasis is on prevention. Okay? Ayurveda stresses that if you live a certain way, if you do certain things, and you're adhering to as Mother Nature kind of tells us and dictates to, you should be thriving in life, happy, healthy. But if you also are able to, if you get sick or you fall under a disease or you need help, yeah, Ayurveda's there too. But I just want to stress, most of the teachings and modalities and even things is around prevention and the prevention model. So now, kind of touching on that, what is the goal of Ayurveda? Again, like I said, it's to promote consistent balance between mind, body, and spirit. And it's also to prevent disease and maintain optimal physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. Basically, it means is that you want optimal balance throughout your whole body. It's just not, okay, I'm eating right, that's great, let me just sit here and not do anything. No, you got to move too. What about your mind? Your mind's got to be either in a creative state or doing some meditation or something like that. So everything works together. You're connected. And that is the goal of Ayurveda, is to maintain that balance, is what I said, earlier, is that optimal balance, that all of us are there working towards that prevention model, is doing the things that are right. And that is the ultimate goal of Ayurveda. Now, the Ayurvedic science is based on the 5 basic elements. And these are the elements that are found in Mother Nature, they're found in the universe. The first element is ether, okay? And we're all comprised of this. This is us. Now, when I say us, it's the individual. Ether, you can look at as a space. There's space. Anywhere you go, there's space, the elements. Air, fire, water, and earth. The 5 elements are present in nature and in the human body on many levels. At the most basic level, however, they take the form of chemicals such as carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, and nitrogen. What's interesting is these 5 elements come together to compose the doshas, which a lot of people know about or like to know about. And I'd like to just tell you, there's 3 doshas, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. A lot of times people will fall into one dominant dosha, but then they'll also have a subdominant dosha, and a lot of times there is multiple doshas there. You can even be tridoshic. I mean, and it doesn't mean that your whole life you'll be the same dominant dosha or anything. It could switch just based on where you are. But in reality, the foundational dosha is going to be kind of predominant of who you are as a person, how you think, your height, your weight, your hair, exposure to potential diseases that could come in the future. So that's what makes it really interesting. Now, the three doshas, like I said, is Vata, Pitta, Kapha. Vata is made up of ether and air, space and air. These will all make much more sense when I get into it. Pitta is made up of fire and water. And for some of the audience that kind of is interested or maybe knows, is Pitta, it has to do with fire. That means you get fire is also with heat. So heat is associated with the emotion of anger. So a lot of people that are Pitta dominant, they tend to get angry easily. They tend to have issues with their, some people will have issues with digestion because it gets too hot. And so I'm going to connect these later, but it's just interesting to see. Kapha constitution has to do with water and earth. Okay, so I'll repeat that. Vata is ether and air, space and air. Okay, kind of more free flowing and hence creative, and that's, I'll get to that as well. Pitta is more fire and water. It's kind of interesting, the opposites. And then Kapha is water and earth. So now how do these things relate? How do the five elements and everything that I talk about, how do they relate to the body? Well, ether, as I said, was space. It's associated with your sense of sound, okay? And the organ is the ear. All right. So space is the space between is associated with sound and with the organ of ear. And all of these, again, connect back to the constitutions. Air. Air is based on the sense of touch, and the organ is skin. Fire is based on the sense of sight, and the organ is eyes. Water is based on the sense of taste, and the organ is tongue. Earth is based on the sense of smell, and the organ is nose. Now, the five senses are all connected to the mind, ego, intellect, and unified whole. The Ayurvedic definition of health, as I mentioned, is it's the overall balance in mind, body, and spirit. And the predominant thing here is the mind has the power to heal. As the mind thinks and behaves, the body believes and follows. Okay? Now, I'll be getting more into the doshas more specifically, but I just wanted to kind of walk you guys through what is Ayurveda, the history, how old is the system, and the five elements that make up the dosha constitutions and the different constitutions. So before I continue, just want to kind of, see if there's any questions about that or anything.
That's great, Gunny. No, thank you. And I love how you're really kind of connecting, starting at the very basic elements up to the doshas. This is where in my in the readings that I've done, where I can take the knowledge in, but really connecting it and understanding it and understanding how how it relates to me is where I'm just so interested in learning more of, because it can be confusing in first glance.
It can, and I'll be honest, Joe. When I go in, and when they were doing classes in person, you go in and you can take some very deep classes. A lot of the concepts will be in Sanskrit, and so that will be tough to understand because you'll have to translate. And then, but the fundamental beauty of Ayurveda is once you get it and you're able to simplify it, it makes so much sense. You could connect the dots everywhere. Like you can connect the dots so much, and that's what's so beautiful about it. So what I would like to, should we continue, or do you want to answer maybe some questions that are coming in, or what would you like to do?
Well, a couple of questions did come in, and one of them says, can you repeat what you said about what the mind thinks and behaves, the body follows?
Absolutely. That's a great question. Thank you. I think Greta asked that. So Greta, in Ayurveda, it's believed that everything begins and ends in the mind. Let me define that, okay? Healing begins in the mind, but so does suffering, okay? Now, it could be unconscious suffering, and please try to understand me. Like some people suffer when they don't know. But the beautiful thing is, if the mind begins to think of healing, the body will follow. The body does what the mind tells it to do. It's an interesting thing here. My dad treats a lot of people with oncology and cancer, and stage 3, stage 4, and he does it through naturopathic and Ayurvedic ways, and IV therapy and other things, and nutrition. An interesting thing that he says is, he goes, you can take person A, person B, same diagnosis, same type of cancer, and the first thing that they're diagnosed with, and you can tell the person, hey, I have really bad news for you. You have stage 3, stage 4 cancer. Um, and you know, here's what we need to do to get it done. Person A, who is more positive, more optimistic, more kind of, okay, I got it, I think I can get done with it, will have a better chance of healing just based on that thought process alone than person B, who's already been defeated 50%. My dad said sometimes the diagnosis itself diminishes the healing power because, again, as the mind thinks, the body believes. Okay. And I think I don't have to be the one to tell you guys. There's so many stories that you guys probably know that, like, people have just have put enough thought and belief behind it. Not just thought, belief as well. Belief is that emotion that gets you to thinking. And as soon as you have that, the body begins to behave and miracles are produced. And to us, that seems like a miracle, but to the body, it's funny. To me, I think of through the experience, it seems kind of like a, come on, you really thought I couldn't do that? I mean, it's interesting. My dad also says that your body is your greatest pharmacy. Your body knows what to do. But I hope that answered the question, Greta. That's what I meant. Once the mind is sure on what it can achieve, and especially if it's in a disease state, and it can start to begin to think of healing and therapy and treatment and cure, the body follows. The body naturally follows. Um, okay, so what I'll like to do, sorry, Joe, you can go ahead and please monitor the Q&A. I don't want to do that for you.
Yeah, no, please feel free to go ahead. And I'll, again, everybody, any questions that don't get answered as we go along, we'll try to answer at the end. And then if not, then in a post webinar communication.
Absolutely. So what I'd like to get into is more like the practicality. Okay, so how can we use the power of Ayurveda to help us on our healing journey? What I'd like to kind of connect with is, what are some things we can do every day? And what are some things that makes Ayurveda so powerful, adaptable, convenient to put into your life? First thing is, guys, do not forget the power of your breath, okay? Breathing is free. How many of us, consciously or unconsciously, when we get nervous, when we get anxious, when we get stressed, the breath contracts, okay? But what's also beautiful about that is, once you begin to understand and you pick up on that you're like, hey, you know what? When I get stressed, my breath does get shallow, or I hold more of it in. The moment you begin to pick that up and you just kind of, it's going to be okay, or whatever, if you need to say an affirmation, if you just need to kind of just let it go, that begins to change your parasympathetic system. It begins to calm you down where normally you would have stressed out. It can even prevent a panic attack. It begins to reprogram the subconscious to, instead of now acting with a panic desire, you are acting more calm. You are kind of, in essence, able to watch your thoughts and your breath. And your breath is extremely energetic and healing. The runner's high. Why do people feel so good? Not only are you moving your body, but you're getting all that oxygen in your body. That's helping your organs. That's helping your blood flow. I mean, everything. So again, don't forget, every day, maybe set aside 5 to 10 minutes and just do some breathing. It could be mindfulness breathing. It could be the fire breath and everything. And you guys can look that up on YouTube. I mean, I could show you, but there's just different variations. Whatever you're comfortable with, just look it up. I recommend, the power of the breath is amazing. People have, there's people that are able to do miraculous things. I mean, athletes are able to hold their breath for such amount of time with the training. Women, just alone with the breathing power and mindfulness, are able to have delivered children without any pain. I mean, I've seen it. It's incredible. So don't underestimate the power of the breath. Second thing is, the biggest thing that Ayurveda stresses is diet. Because in Ayurveda, digestion is kind of considered the almighty. In fact, there's a second mind in the gut. Okay, that's why now all of a sudden there's so much connection between the gut mind. And people say that there's a second mind in the gut, which Ayurveda has known for a while, but now we're doing the research to prove that a lot of the feel-good hormones and even the adrenals, many people think that the adrenals are up here. There's also, I mean, it's interesting. You get the sensations down here as well. And that's why I say, my gut feeling. Well, if you think about it, the gut feeling is pretty accurate because you have a second mind in the gut. So you probably should be listening to the gut, not only for intelligence, but also what you should be eating. So try to eat in season available foods and fruits. What does that mean? If it's summer, go to your local farmer's market, eat organic. If it's winter, if there's something that's still around in the summertime and it's winter, that's got to tell you that that's not how Mother Nature works. I mean, seriously, that's got to be a sign for you that, okay, if I put this in my body, most likely my body's not going to enjoy it for the nutrition. I may enjoy it at an emotional level, but the nutrition factor is not going to be there and it's not going to be serving me. Okay. Third thing is sleep and rise according to the cycles of Mother Nature. Yes, this means earlier in the summer and later in the winter. Okay, you got to mimic Mother Nature. And why is that so important? Sleep is the time that not only do we go and repair, we hibernate. It's such a rejuvenation. So it's basically helping you rejuvenate the mind, body, and spirit, also a physical level. So that's why sleep is so important. And try to rise with the sun and go to sleep when it sets. I know it's difficult, and I'm not saying that you have to go exactly like, for example, in the wintertime, my parents live in Seattle. I'm not expecting them to be in bed by 4. I mean, but I am like thinking that, consistently try to be in bed by at least 9:30, 10, rise up whenever the sun's up, 6:30 if you can, and make it a habit. Don't go cold turkey. If you can't do it day one, start slowly. Maybe set the alarm for 15 minutes earlier every day until you get to that gradual, the sunrise and sunset time that you want. And last thing, guys, is adapt to your environment. Welcome change. What happens when we resist change? Resistance comes up. I mean, it's simple, right? When we're resisting something, and it's so interesting because that's counterintuitive. Mother Nature changes all the time. Summer comes, it's hot, the trees change, the flowers are different, there's different things growing, there's different things happening. And then all of a sudden fall comes, the leaves fall, there's other things happening, a different plantation is growing, shorter days. Mother Nature is not complaining. But at the end of the day, what we have to remember is adapt to your environment. And what that means is be open to change, welcome change. When you do that, you're going to be least resistance. The emotions are not going to get there. And you will most likely enjoy it because you will have a different perspective on that. Okay. So those are some of the things that we can do every single day to help adapt Ayurveda into our life. What I'd like to kind of go into next is how specifically into the doshas and how they relate to optimal health. So unless there's any, and Joe, let me know if there's any questions that we need to answer, but I'll be going into kind of, guys, now the doshas and how kind of optimal health. And I believe one question may be answered by that.
Perfect. Yeah. Please do go ahead. And actually, I think this is one I know I need to pay very close attention to, because this is where it starts to get a little, somewhat confusing.
Yeah, and I'll try to make it as simple. And that was my whole thing is, like I said, we can go down you could have 2 hours just on the doshas. So, but okay, let's start with Vata. Okay, what is Vata? Well, here are the functions of Vata that'll kind of help you relate to if that's you or that's not you. Okay, the Vata constitution is responsible for creating energy. Okay, it helps eliminate excretions. It creates dryness. I'm giving you guys the characteristics, but then also some of the emotional things to put everything together to kind of see if you connect with that. It activates the mind and speech mechanisms. A lot of creativity. People that are Vata dominant are also very creative. It controls inspiration. Okay, so if you're looking for something to balance out your or get that Vata energy back, watch something inspirational. Do something inspirational. It also stimulates action. So if you're talking to somebody that is a Kapha, much more a little lazier, laid back, and a Vata meets up, it's most likely that you can, one of two things will happen. Either the Kapha will pull the Vata down because of laziness, or because of the Vata's, the control, inspiration and stimulates action, it can lift actually the Kapha to kind of take the action that's needed. It also controls the endocrine gland functions and then balances the tissues as well. So overall, Vata is responsible for really activating the mind and speech mechanism. It's really good for inspiration and action. Now, where is the Vata located? It's just really interesting, and I found this interesting as well. Many times people will think about certain things and be like, okay, well, yeah, Vata is just floating around. Well, there's some specific areas that Vata is found. It's found in the feet, found in the skin, thighs, colon, bladder, nervous system, and lumbar. Nervous system, again, what I was telling you is that it activates the creativity and everything like that. So here are some of the more specific characteristics of Vata that I think maybe you guys can identify. And Vatas do tend to frequently worry. And that is because, again, they're tied to the nervous system. they're quick to grasp and forget. They understand quickly, but then they also forget quickly as well. They frequently change mood and mind. So these people are, it's tough for them to make a decision. They'll have one mood and then all of a sudden they'll switch over to another one. They are light sleepers, and they do tend to sometimes be drawn towards insomnia. Hence why certain times, Vatas can benefit from that cooling breath and really doing those things to kind of balance out the mind. They're usually light and thin build. They're not some bulky people or anything like that. Majority of light and thin build. Energy comes in spurts. It's not a consistent energy. It'll come in spurts, and usually that's tied to the action and inspiration that they see. And it's interesting. Vatas are either extremely, they're short or tall, and they tend to spend their money unwisely. So these are just some interesting characteristics. I know people probably are saying that, well, I do some of those and others, but just wait for me to talk through all of them. Like I said, you can be multiple doshas. People can be tridoshic, but still you will have one dominant dosha. And that'll be the dosha that most likely, Ayurvedically, you'll be guided on how to balance and whatnot. So now I'm going to move on to Pitta, and kind of do the same things that we did for Pitta. So the functions of Pitta. What is Pitta responsible for? Sight, heat, producing heat, appetite. It helps with the stimulation of digestion, softness, pleasantness, digestion, contentment, chivalry, and anger. Now, where is Pitta located? Pitta is located in the eyes, the blood, the liver, the sweat glands, the heart, spleen, skin again, and digestive tract. That's why I say that a lot of times when people will have the Pitta aggravation, digestion will be the first thing to kind of get, suffocated, because with all that digestive fire, so the Agni, the Pitta, the warmthness, you want to make sure that you eat at certain times, which I can also talk about, in a little bit, but you want to make sure that eating time is the best time to eat is between 12 and 2. And people ask why. Well, if you think about it, the sun is the highest at that time, and that is when the digestive fire is also the highest. You want to be in tune with that, because that'll help you break down the foods, not carry the excess weight, and also provide the nutrition and nutrients where you need. Now, what are the characteristics of Pitta? Pitta people tend to have a very intelligent mind, medium build, moderate strength. It's actually interesting. You can identify them with freckles. They welcome challenges. They have a tendency towards anger and irritability, and they become jealous easily. Some famous people that are Pitta that have been recognizable. I mean, it's not like these people actually got an Ayurvedic consultation. Maybe they did, but Steve Jobs was known to have a Pitta dominance, as with his anger. He also had I think digestive issues as well, but his anger was a hallmark characteristic of that. So these are some people that Vatas are pretty creative people, and I think the artists and everything like that. So I'll be now moving into Kapha, and where the functions of Kapha: stickiness, potency, lubrication, heaviness. The mucus that comes and is built around kind of the mouth and the nose, that is considered Kapha. The heaviness, the sinus stuff, that's related to Kapha. The Kapha's job is to kind of get that out there. Some of the emotional stuff that Kapha comes is forgiveness, knowledge, immunity, and unity. Now, where's Kapha located? Like I said, the head. Whenever you get sinusy or kind of feel like that sinus infection or nasal clog, that's Kapha. Kapha's causing the inflammation. It wants to kind of drain out the stuff. Also in the heart, extremities, stomach, joints, chest, neck, and tongue. Now, what are the characteristics of Kapha? They're affectionate and loving. These are like, Kapha people are extremely loving. They're very, very kind of down to earth. I mean, earth is one of their dominant elements. I mean, it makes sense. Steady energy, great physical endurance, slow to grasp new ideas, but excellent retention. They're calm. They sleep heavy. Tendency to gain weight, slow digestion, and mild hunger. Kaphas also tend to have issues with sinus related things. They're not able to drain the mucus. So many people will say, okay, so the different body types, as you know, is Vata, Pitta, Kapha, but then you can also be a Vata, Pitta, Pitta, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, and just vice versa. Or you can also be tridoshic, but most people will have a dominant kind of constitution. One will be dominant. I believe I am more Vata, and I have a Vata Kapha or Vata Pitta, just depending on the season. So, and maybe you guys are able to kind of pick up what you guys are as well. But that's kind of the definition of the constitutions. What I want to go into now is how do we balance those doshas and different things that each of those each of those constitutions can do to balance it. So, Joe, if there's no questions, I can continue, or if you'd like, I can answer a few questions.
Yeah, I think this is flowing great. It looks like there was a couple of questions that went along, but we'll be able to answer those at the end. I'm not seeing how can maybe this actually I did pull one up for because there is a different besides the chat. There's a Q&A section. How can someone assess their dosha, and is this something to reassess over time to see if it changes with any mind, body, spiritual work done?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what I would say is a lot of people have there's so many dosha quizzes online. If you really want to get it done and get it done accurately, visit an Ayurvedic practitioner, and I'll tell you why. See, it's not just about answering a bunch of questions and filling out a form, and then logically, it's kind of like a decision tree. It'll lead you to one thing. An Ayurvedic practitioner will check your pulse, will even check your tongue. Why the tongue? Because there's so much that they can see from the tongue: digestion, certain other things, imbalances in the body. They'll also check your skin color, your nails. So if you really want to go and get the proper diagnosis, visit somebody that knows Ayurvedic pulse diagnosis. You can get the constitution there, or visit an Ayurvedic practitioner. And I would say, get it done, and then maybe 6 months to even a year later, check back and see if things have changed. But if you really want to get it done accurately, go and find an Ayurvedic practitioner. You can Google it. There's an entity called NAMA, N-A-M-A. Maybe Joe, you guys have heard of them. They can also help connect you guys to Ayurvedic practitioner. There's many colleges in California that can also help you guys out as well that do that. So yeah, that's the accurate way to do it. There's a lot of quizzes online. Sahara Rose is a really good one. If you type in her name, she has a dosha quiz that'll get you started. But if you really want to dive deep into it, get a better understanding and get a personalized one, you got to visit an Ayurvedic practitioner.
And I do want to thank you for that, Gunny. That's great, great information. Mackenzie Wallace has also asked a question. She asked it in the chat and in the Q&A, so I want to make sure we address it. I am probably going to mispronounce a word here, so I apologize to everybody involved. It says, and Mackenzie wrote, if the mind is connected to healing and doshas, is a specific dosha more prone to excessive chitta vritti? And again, I apologize if I mispronounced that. That impacts our inability to heal as easily.
Yeah, I would say the constitutions. Thanks for that question, Mackenzie. More, I would say Vata and Pitta, just because the imbalance of the digestion also happens, and Vatas are more prone to those nervous system issues. I think that those are the two constitutions, according to my experience and the knowledge that I have, that can have the more prone to to that and inability to heal. So.
Perfect. Well, thank you.
So, okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk about how to use balancing the dosha. So Vata, let's start from there. Breathing, tongue in, again, like I was telling you guys, breathing is super essential for everybody, and it's just so amazing what we can achieve with the breath. So Vata, breathing, breathe in through the nose, fill the lungs, and hold, exhale through the mouth. So breathe in through the nose, okay? Most of us breathe in from our mouth. Breathe in through the nose, and this is different for everybody. Breathe in through the nose, fill the lungs, and hold exhale through the mouth. Repeat 16 times. Typically have quick breathing patterns, so slowing down is important. Again, Vatas have a quick breathing patterns. What you want to do is you want to normalize the breathing. And when you normalize the breathing, you will notice it affecting your parasympathetic system as well. And that'll really help you calm down and just balance out everything else that may be getting out of whack due to the Vata, constitution. Exercise, yoga and walking, and slower exercise is best. Vatas require at least 30 minutes per day. And the reason is again, like, I'm not saying this is what you should follow. If you like to do high intensity interval training, that's fine, but just don't have it dominate. If you're a Vata, don't have it dominate your routine, because that can cause aggravation, not only in your physical body, but also in your emotional body as well. Vatas require at least 6 hours of sleep. Okay. Now let's move on to Pitta. Breathing. Create a funnel with the mouth, breathe through funnel, swallow the coolness, exhale through mouth. Repeat 16 times. Pittas typically need to cool down. Now, what I mean by a funnel is you want to go like this. So go like this with the tongue, So when you do that with the tongue, you're taking in cool air, and that cool air is meeting up with the body, which is really, Pitta is associated with heat. So when you're taking in the cool air, you're cooling down the system, which is really going to help. Do this 16 times again, and Pittas, like I said, typically need to cool down the breath, okay? Exercise, yoga and aerobic exercise is great. Pittas require at least 45 minutes a day. Sleep-wise, require at least 7 hours of sleep is what Pittas need, okay? Kaphas. Hold breathing. Hold both nostrils closed. Breathe quickly through one side. Repeat for both nostrils. So hold both nostrils. And that's going to really help. It's beneficial in the morning. Kaphas need to breathe quickly, okay, to kind of stimulate the system, stimulate the Agni, the digestive fire. Exercise, they need cardiovascular exercise, tendency towards inactivity, require an hour a day. Sleep, these guys need a little bit more, require between 8 to 9 hours of sleep with tendency to oversleep. So, I mean, a lot of people with kaphas like to oversleep, which is not good as well. Let me cover some of the emotions and the doshas. I covered them before, but let me just cover them again more specifically. Vatas tend to have fear, anxiety. They need to, they should face the fears, and meditation is very beneficial. So again, the emotions are fear and anxiety. They should be able to tend to kind of face the fears, and meditation is very beneficial. Pitta, anger, okay, like I was telling before, irritable, jealousy. They need to calm down. Cooling meditation, like I showed through the tongue, is really great and beneficial. Kaphas, warm and loving personality. They like to spread love and very easygoing, have hard time getting motivated, and can become lazy as well. So those are some of the emotions and some of the things that you can do. I'd like to kind of bring it back together and kind of summarize what we discussed. So remember, the power of your breath. Breath is fantastic. It's amazing what the power of the breath can do. Don't underestimate that, guys. I would highly encourage you guys to take some, plan it in your calendar, put it on your calendar. And technically, I don't always suggest before going to sleep, just because it's funky. I mean, some people just are able to pass out. Other people have crazy energy. Try to do it, time it during either in the morning or midday, just to see how your body responds. Even with meditation. And the reason is people are like, well, aren't you supposed to be more calm with meditation? Yeah, you are. But then it also releases things which gives the body natural energy. So some people can be wide awake after a 5-minute meditation session. Again, as Ayurveda preaches, do what's right for you. Experiment on yourself, listen to your body more importantly, and that way take the thing. Eat what is available in the season. Right now it's summer for people in the United States. Try to go to your local farmer's market, buy organic, buy things that is grown in the summertime, more cooling food. You don't want to get too much heat in there because it's already hot. So do more things cooling, like coconut water, watermelons, all these things that are more cooling, more focus on certain leafy greens, and just keeping your body cool. And really, I don't really advise running out in the sun too much. I mean, if you like to, that's fine. But again, don't make it an everyday thing. Maybe once or twice, it's fine. Get your vitamin D, get your natural sun, as you need to. And the best time, I think, is between the hours of 10 to noon, is the best time to kind of get that natural sunlight. Sleep and rise according to the cycles of Mother Nature. And just like I said before, mimic Mother Nature, adapt to your environment, welcome change. And what I'd like to get into is some of the herbs that are helpful. And I wanted to list the adaptogens, because adaptogens help your body adapt to stress. They're intelligent herbs that either work with your cortisol, or they go in and they really help the body adapt to certain things. Like ashwagandha is one of my favorite herbs, okay? It works with your cortisol level. Your cortisol should be the highest in the morning and lowest in the evening, because in the morning you want to get going, and in the evening your cortisol should be low enough to get you ready for a restful sleep, rejuvenating sleep. When people have adrenal fatigue or other things, cortisol goes through the roof. It doesn't know when to go down and when to go up. Ashwagandha comes in and it understands that. It adapts to it, and it begins to have it function to where it needs to go. Triphala is also a really good adaptogen. It's good for digestion. Turmeric, curcumin is also excellent. It's a good anti-inflammatory. Shilajit is also fantastic. Amla and Bacopa. These are some of the favorite ones that I have. They can be found in our products if you guys want to check them out. In YouVeda My Healthy Mood, plus the oil. It's a supplement kit plus an essential oil. YouVeda My Healthy Digestion. then we have a My Healthy Immunity, we have a joints, and then we have an overall body as well. So that kind of puts it together in full circle. What is Ayurveda, the different constitutions? What can we do to support that healing journey? Because, you know, that's what we were talking about here. So I hope that was helpful.
That's great, Gunny. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Awesome information. And actually, this is perfect because we now have a few minutes to kind of go through some of the questions that popped up during this. And I want to make sure before we close this out, that you get an opportunity to let everybody know a little bit more about your business specifically, and how, if anybody wants to reach you directly, or is
Sure.
interested in any of your products and services, how they can access them as well.
Absolutely, yeah. If you guys are interested, a lot of our herbs, a lot of our formulations, guys, are built on the adaptogens. And I'll spell it. I know somebody has a question about how to spell it. These adaptogens. Well, I mean, you can go and just type in Ayurvedic adaptogens, and they should show up. But a lot of the products are built off of these adaptogens that we carry. So My Healthy Mood, which is available on YouVeda.com, www.youveda.com. And if you guys were paying attention, I hope you guys, which were at the start, you is the intelligence and Veda is knowledge. So the knowledge of you, that's why we called it that. So YouVeda, youveda.com. And you can find, we have tons of information about how to get started with Ayurveda. What does it mean? We have a plethora of information on our knowledge center. We have all the products are listed. What's interesting and unique to me and important to me is our products are tested with some of the highest safety standards. They're tested 4 times. They're tested at the raw level, they're tested when they're extracted, they're tested when they're encapsulated, and then they're tested when they're packed. So we don't spare on the quality. These are formulated by doctors that have 40 to 45 years of clinical experience. They're still practicing. And so it's not just put together by a bunch of people and just hey, let's do this as a hobby. No, there's actually science behind it. And we manufacture in FDA registered facilities. And check out the website. I mean, go visit it, www.youveda.com. If you want to get in touch with us, we have, our customer service is ready to answer any questions, and everything is on the website. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook as well.
Perfect, Gunny. Thank you. All
Uh-huh.
right, let's go through some of these questions that have popped up and see if we can get a few of these answered before we.
Absolutely.
Somebody asked if the recordings will be posted on the site, and the answers, and I see that Adam did respond to this, but just to let everybody know, yes, the recording will be published as a blog post this week and included in the beYogi newsletter, so everybody will be able to access this. Chelsea Gilson earlier on had asked, I have a great base knowledge of Ayurveda. Do you have a recommended or advanced/intermediate book to build on the basics?
Yeah. So what was the name again? Sorry, Joe.
Kelsey.
So Kelsey, if you want to look up Vasant Lad, I'll type it in right here. VASANT LAD. Yeah, he is Dr. Vasant Lad. He's done a lot of work on Ayurveda. In fact, a lot of the teachings that I know, I mean, and I know through my father and him, he has more advanced work for sure. And you can even take classes with him online. But if you want to further explore your work and get deeper into this, there's nobody better I can think of than Vasant Lad.
Perfect. Okay, I think we've already answered these. Somebody asked, Jaya asked if I wanted to consult with you, Gunny. Are you located in Texas, and do you see patients?
So that's very sweet of you, Jaya. Thank you so much. I'm not a Ayurvedic practitioner. I just have a lot of knowledge because it's my passion, and I focus on the supplement side and the product side. But Jaya, what you can do is there's a lot of practitioners and are you located in Texas? I'm thinking if you are, shoot us an email. We can connect you with a couple of people that we have in our network that are Ayurvedic practitioners that carry our products and everything, and they could see you. That's, in fact, I'd want you to go down that route.
And maybe that's the right advice too. I saw somebody earlier had asked a question about an Ayurvedic practitioner in Miami.
Yeah.
Would that same person want to contact you, and then you might be able to refer them to a list?
Well, in outside of Texas, because we built a network here. Outside of Texas, what I would suggest is contact Nama. Nama can guide you into a Ayurvedic practitioners that you could talk to.
Perfect. And then there was a question that was, what was the exercise recommendation for Pittas?
Yeah. So let me pull that up here. When you say, okay, so yoga and aerobic exercise and about 45 minutes a day. So you want to balance it with aerobic and then stretching and just really kind of bringing back yourself to the present moment. So yoga and aerobic exercise is what's recommended for Pittas.
Perfect. And this you may have also touched on, but just to reiterate, does it matter what time of day you take adaptogens?
That's specific to the person. But yeah, certain things. Ashwagandha, it's their whole name is adaptogen, which means that they're going to adapt kind of to where you are in your body. But again, everybody's so unique and different. I take ashwagandha in the morning just because it sets me up to have a really good day, like not get too stressed out and make sure that I'm calm and cool and collected through the day. And then Triphala, I like to take in the evening because it really helps with the digestion of the elimination that happens in the morning. But again, what I'd like to tell you is try it out on yourself. And try that way. Like if you're gonna take ashwagandha, try it in the morning. But if you're gonna take to, if you're gonna take to, you know, the Triphala, try it in the evening. So you know that and that's how we can kind of go from there. But try it on yourself and listen to your body. That's the best advice.
Perfect. And there was also a question. I cannot begin to spell these adaptogens. Can I get a list, please? And so we'll publish. You know, we'll send out what this list looks like, or even potentially publish a blog post. I know, Gunny, you presented some great information today, and I know you laid some of that out via a Word doc. You know, maybe our team can coordinate with you, and we publish blog post about this information if you're comfortable with that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Whatever you guys need, we're always ready to help out.
And Heather had asked what the adaptogen you mentioned after ashwagandha, which I believe was the Triphala. Is that correct?
Triphala, yeah, Triphala. And I'll tell you a little interesting thing about Triphala. Why is it called Triphala? Tri is obviously three. Phala in the Hindi language and Sanskrit is flower. So it's three flowers that come together, Amla, Bahera, Haritaki, and these are amazing to support digestive health. That's why it's called Triphala. And it's spelled Triphala. I'll spell it for you right here.
All right, I'm now looking over into the Q&A.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, guys, I mean, keep the questions coming. If there's anything else you guys need, let us know.
All right. Will there be a workshop or the like to help us figure out which stage we are in? So that's actually a good question. Is there some advice you can give to help folks understand what stage they might be in?
Honestly, like this, I would prefer, if you guys don't mind, reaching out to an Ayurvedic practitioner for that one. Everybody's so different. I cannot do that. I mean, I would have to know your background, what environment you grew in. I mean, are you taking any products right now? Are you taking any medication? What are you dealing with at the moment? So I always like to answer responsibly and do it the right way. So I would say that reach out to Ayurvedic practitioners. And right now, guys, everybody's doing telehealth. I mean, you can reach out to, let me maybe make it an easier resource. If you guys want to reach out to my father's clinic, the clinic's address, and he practices Ayurvedic and naturopathic medical clinic. And I will leave the phone number as well. And he does consultations on the phone, and he's amazing. So, and I think they accept some insurances as well. So, you know, you don't feel like you always got to pay out of pocket, but you can talk to them, and it's wonderful.
Well, that's great. And to me, that to me, that's so important too. And obviously you have a great base working knowledge of Ayurveda, but you understand and respect it so much that as not an Ayurvedic practitioner, you want to make sure people are getting the right information. I think that's great advice to find potentially even a local Ayurvedic practitioner and get assessed by somebody who's been doing that, is qualified to do so.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, Joe, at the end of the day, I mean, I know enough, but man, like I'm not a practitioner. Like I still would need additional. Maybe I'll go get the knowledge one day, but right now I don't have it, but I do know people that do.
Well, it looks like, and maybe maybe I'm just not seeing it. It looks like I believe we got most of these questions answered. And if I've missed one, or if there are any others that come in, again, we will answer those questions and get a communication out to the entire audience. We'll at least answer every question that we're able to, if it's, as long as we are able to. And just to summarize here, a couple of things. Number one, Gunny, really so much appreciate you doing this.
Thank you. My
And
pleasure.
for being the very first participant in this, what's potentially going to be an ongoing series. It's kind of nerve-wracking doing this the first time. I imagine as we move forward, they might get a little bit more professional, a little bit more polished.
Oh, it was perfect. It was fun.
Great. No, I agree. I think it was great. And just to summarize again, everybody, I want to make sure you understand YouVeda is Gunny's business. They have great products and services. Make sure you go and support them. YouVeda.com. Gunny gave you ways to reach out to them. He gave you some information to reach out to Ayurvedic practitioners. And of course, here at beYogi, we offer, for the most part, we offer liability insurance for yoga instructors, yoga therapists, and different health and wellness modalities. But really, we do try to do everything we can to support our customers, to try to help them, give them the tools and resources they need to succeed. But really, the best things that we can do is learn from our customer base. What can we provide to you? And so I'm really glad that we had a few people asking about information about Ayurveda. I think it's so important. I think that as we move forward, there's somewhat of an awakening occurring. People are understanding more and more the mind-body connection, the need for proper nutrition and exercise. And I think this all complements each other. I'm really inspired every day that I see more and more of it, just again, this kind of awakening. And anyway, I just think this topic was so relevant, especially today with everything going on. So again, thank you so much, Gunny.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure. Thank you to the audience. I think there was a couple of other questions that came in. Any Ayurvedic books you recommend for beginners? Yeah, Susan, Sahara Rose, Sahara-Rose, Sahara Rose. I mean, her book's title is basically Ayurveda for idiots or something, beginner's guide. That's a really good one. Kate Stillman is another author that's really good. Can you provide a free, reliable source test that I can use to help us determine where? Sneha, again, go to Sahara Roses, but that'll get you started. Again, like I'm telling you, I would rather have you visit or talk to an Ayurvedic practitioner for a better understanding of the doshas.
Perfect. Great. Thanks for catching those. I didn't even see those come in, Gunny. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Well, if we don't see any others, we can go ahead and end this webinar. Again, I feel like this is successful in the very first of a series. And guys, remember, the first and third Wednesday of every month at 1 p.m. Eastern time is going to be the normal time. I believe we do have one set for the future that's going to be on a Thursday, but we'll let you know. There will be a schedule up on our site very soon. But next week's is with Digital Yoga Academy. It's around, they call it yogipreneurs, entrepreneurs in the yogi space, launching an online course, which of course is so meaningful right now. But truly appreciate you, Gunny, for the great information today. Everybody check out YouVeda, and look forward to seeing you guys in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.